Hey guys, let's talk about knowing your rights and what to do if you're detained at a U.S. port of entry for lawful permanent residence. I'm Moreno Law Office LLC. We're here to help your immigration problems in person or over the phone and guide you every step of the way. Like all international travelers, lawful permanent residents, LPRs, also known as green card holders, are subject to inspection to U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, when arriving in an airport or a land port of entry. While LPRs enjoy greater rights than non-immigrants when returning to the United States after travel abroad, all non-citizens now face increased scrutiny at the border for past immigration issues. Interactions with police and political activity. It is important that you know your rights when returning to the United States. Let's look at returning as a resident versus arriving as an alien. As an LPR, CBP will screen you to decide whether you are a returning resident or arriving alien. If CBP decides you are a returning resident, you can be processed quickly back into the United States. You'll be considered an arriving alien if you have an abandoned or given up your LPR status, if you've been absent from the U.S. for a continuous period of more than 180 days, if you engaged in any illegal activity after leaving the U.S., if you've departed the U.S. while on removal or extradition proceedings, if you've committed certain criminal offenses unless you were granted an immigration waiver, or if you're trying to enter without inspection. Now let's talk about secondary inspections. If questions arise and CBP is unable to admit you quickly, you may be taken to a separate area for secondary inspections. Being sent for a secondary inspection by itself does not necessarily mean you are in trouble, but you may be held anywhere from a few minutes to several hours or longer. During secondary inspections, CBP will determine whether you should be allowed to enter the United States during secondary inspections. CBP may ask questions, run checks, and collect your biographic and biometric data. Your phone, laptop, or other electronic devices may be searched and kept temporarily. Searches may include screening of your social media activity. In some cases, devices may be held and returned later. You may request a receipt for your devices if taken by the CBP. You may be detained if CBP has concerns about your admissibility. I'll talk about the I-407, the abandonment of LPR status. CBP may ask you to sign this form, which is a record of abandonment of lawful permanent resident status. Do not sign this form unless you've spoken to a lawyer. Form I-407 must be signed voluntarily. It's important to know that you cannot lose your LPR status because of time spent outside the U.S. without being allowed to have an immigration judge review a presumption of abandonment. The government must provide adamant of LPR status by clear, unequivocal, and convincing evidence in removal court proceedings. CBP cannot do this at the border. If you refuse to sign the form, CBP must issue a notice to appear for immigration court. If CBP takes your green card, you may request evidence of your status by stamping your passport. If they refuse, you may schedule a USCIS appointment to request an I-551 stamp in your passport as proof of your status. Know your rights if you're detained. If CBP believes you're inadmissible or you refuse to sign the form I-407, you may be detained overnight or transferred to immigration detention. Know the following rights. You have the right to contact your consulate. The consulate can help you contact a lawyer or a family member. You may ask to speak with a lawyer. CBP may deny access to a lawyer, but it is worth asking for the record. You have the right to remain silent and not sign any documents without legal advice, especially if you notice errors in documents or do not agree with the content. You have the right to review all written statements that are prepared for you in a language that you can understand. You have the right to ask for an interpreter if you do not fully understand the questions being asked or the documents you are given. Do not sign anything you don't understand. Here's some important notes. You have the right to an immigration judge. If CBP claims that you are removable, you have a right to a hearing before an immigration judge. Do not waive this right. An immigration judge, not CBP, must decide if your green card status can be taken away. If CBP asks about your political beliefs, associations, or participation in protests, you do not have to answer questions about protected First Amendment activity. You may decline to respond to inappropriate questions. Finally, let's look at some things to do before you travel. Consult an immigration lawyer before traveling if you have a criminal record, even for minor offenses or arrest, or a pending criminal case, if you have pending applications with UCIS or immigration court, if you have past immigration violations or challenging interaction with CBP, or if you are a conditional resident. Here are some other important reminders. Travel with the contact information for your lawyer and your consulate on a separate piece of paper. Let your family know your travel plans and check in when you land. If detained, try to contact a lawyer or have someone advocate for you. In some instances, having a Form G-28 signed by your immigration lawyer in hand can be helpful. Call us or visit our website for more information, and like and follow for more content.